You know, Joan, we were talking about El Rushbo.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember what Rush's name for Jesse Jackson was.
Yeah.
And I thought that there was a special name. But one of the things that he always did, of course, I believe, was he would refer to Jesse Jackson as the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
And I didn't really understand it when I first started listening to Rush. And then, of course, I started to really understand the humor behind it. I wasn't sure if, you know the song Shakedown?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, was that Rush that used the, maybe it was a parody of the song Shakedown?
Could be.
Or
yeah.
maybe it was the song Shakedown itself. But, you know, the word on Jesse Jackson is, and of course, is that he would go his, Rainbow Push Coalition would go to businesses and they would accuse them of racism and, racist practices and all of this. And the businesses would then be forced to, there's books and articles and everything on this. You can look it up. The businesses would then be forced to give a very sizable donation to Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition. And it was like a shakedown.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And, I mean, I don't know why that's controversial. I mean, it's just an interpretation of what Jesse Jackson was doing. And a lot of people said it was for his own personal gain. And, I mean, I happen to believe that is what it was. Now, Donald Trump, and we read that very nice thing that Trump posted about Jesse Jackson yesterday. The president clearly didn't have any problems with Jesse Jackson, even though, again, in my opinion, he was shaking down businesses way back when. But, whatever. For me, I don't have a lot to say about Jesse Jackson, and I do believe that he was a shakedown artist, and, whatever.
Of course, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, that it was kind of a twist on the fact that he is actually a reverend. Is he? Yes, he is the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Yeah. And so the Tennessean this morning has an article. Under a picture, it says, Jackson's advocacy in politics was similar in the church, leaders say. Mm. And he's got his arms wide like he's at the pulpit. They just can't stop. They can't help themselves.
Well, did they ever mention any of the controversies?
They don't mention the controversies. And I guess they don't want to do that because he's, just passed away. I don't think anybody had reluctance about framing Charlie Kirk in every possible horrifying way they could.
They most certainly did. So, I mean, for Jesse Jackson, I mean, I just... shoulders up around my ears. Do you know what I say about Jesse Jackson? Mm. Not as bad as Al Sharpton.
Right. Yes, for sure.
Because I'm not a fan of Al Sharpton either. And the thing is,
ganged up on the Tawana Brawley thing when it first happened in New York City. They were out there race baiting like crazy, and until the very end, and still have never apologized for what they did.
And so, for me, I'm not a fan of either of them. That doesn't make me a racist. I didn't like their tactics. I didn't like the constant race baiting. I didn't like the shakedowns. Somebody said Phil Valentine.
Yes.
His song Shakedown was for Jesse Jackson. So I don't have access to any of that stuff, obviously. It's been so long. But anyway, but an appropriate song nonetheless, Jesse Jackson and Shakedown. Moving right along, Nashville property taxes front and center this morning. I heard you talking about this, Joan.
Yeah.
Coming up, we do have the Speaker of the Tennessee House, Cameron Sexton. He's going to join us to talk about this and a number of other things. But we all know that property taxes effectively have gone up and up in Nashville. And now it's really hitting the local businesses, the independent businesses as well, especially ones that have been here forever, like Acme Feed N Seed. Apparently, it's been around for like 56 years. They say that Acme Feed N Seed is one of the last true anchors of old Nashville. And they're going to have to shut down, apparently, because of those massively high property taxes. You talked about it, Joan. They've gone from $129,000 a year to almost $600,000 a year.
And still $129,000 is insane.
Yeah, but who can pay $600,000 a year in property taxes? Well, the bigger bars with the marketing, with the Kid Rock and the Blake Shelton and the Miranda Lambert, those are all corporate-owned bars and restaurants. And so they can absorb $600,000 in property taxes. But, Acme Feed N Seed can't. It's owned by one guy, or maybe, whatever. Maybe he's got a group, but Tom Morales is a guy. And the Fox 17 report spoke to him, the owner, who he's helped rescue other iconic Nashville properties like Loveless Cafe and the Woolworth Lunch Counter. He also saved Acme Feed N Seed years ago, but now he is being crushed by this more than a $500,000 property tax increase. This is what he said to Fox 17.
Morales wrote the mayor a letter and asked for a meeting. The mayor did not respond. So we asked the mayor if he was going to offer any relief to Acme. In short, the answer is no. No help for Acme. It's just business, says the mayor.
Yeah, and so that's kind of, obviously sad. Tom Morales has done a lot for the city of Nashville. And what does he get for that? No good deed goes unpunished. Gets his property taxes raised $500,000. So remember what happened, by the way, in Nashville, where, and I don't want to get into the weeds here, but because the property values skyrocketed, that meant that even if the property tax rate remained the same, those values meant far higher property taxes that business owners and folks would have to pay. But the crazy thing is, this is the crazy thing. Morales simply asked for a meeting with the mayor and couldn't get one. This is the mayor's full quote. It's not up to me whether he keeps that business open. The market evolves. New businesses start even as beloved old businesses close. It sounds pretty heartless. Do you know what I think, Joan?
I think it's heartless.
I think that the mayor has some sort of designs on that building.
Oh, yes.
I think that's what's going on.
And maybe the mayor knows somebody who wants to develop that building differently.
That's what I think.
Yeah. We nailed it.
And this is more from Tony Morales.
It's really discouraging to see. And the part that's really discouraging is that none of our leadership steps up and says, hey, we're going to do something for you. I've been 40 years doing something for the city of Nashville. I can't even get a meeting.
I also wonder, old Nashville, and I've only been here 12 years, but I do wonder if there is an attitude amongst the liberals in Nashville that they don't like old classic Nashville.
Yeah.
Because they think that maybe it was too hick, it's too cowboy,
Yep.
It's too white.
Yep.
You think that's maybe part of it?
I went to school here in the 20-teens and like kind of the notion was people wanted to get away from Nashville because they thought it was still somehow, too backwoods.
Too southern.
Yeah.
Is maybe what some people think.
A little bit.
And here's the deal. And that's what I love about Nashville. And that's what Tennesseans love about Nashville. Now, Mayor Freddie O'Connell was born in Nashville, but because he's, on the left, I don't think that he values the, sort of the sentiment of old Nashville. So maybe the mayor has something in mind for that building, Acme Feed N Seed, right there, Lower Broad, prime location. Another part of this, by the way, again, I was talking about this earlier, is the corporate-owned bars and restaurants. They've all been opening up where perhaps they can afford that type of property tax. And, a guy like Tom Morales simply can't. We've got, again, Kid Rock, Jason Aldean's bar, Miranda Lambert. You've got your Blake Shelton. Those might look local, but those are corporate-owned entities. And Tom Morales has spent years rescuing these properties across Nashville over the years. By the way, the other question that I would ask is, okay, so what is Nashville, or Nashvillians, we're paying all of this, well, not me, but people who live in Nashville and people like Tom Morales and business owners, what are they getting for their money? So I really started thinking about this. If you live in Nashville, or if you're a business owner in Nashville and you're paying all of these higher property taxes because your property was assessed higher, and that's what the property taxes are based on, what are you getting for your money? Like, is it fair and appropriate to ask that question? What do you get for your money? Remember that old Freddie in the last budget asked for a 16.6% spending increase. And the question I would ask is, okay, so what are we getting for that? Are we getting, bike lanes and all that kind of stuff? I went on this whole thing a couple of, I think it was months ago now. But, I drive through Hermitage every day on my way back to Wilson County in Mount Juliet. I still have not seen anybody in those bike lanes. Metro schools, one of, if not the biggest budget items where the property taxes go. And let's not forget the head of Metro schools, Dr. Adrian Battle. She ends up getting sued, and the school board ends up getting sued and cost the districts millions of dollars. What was $6.5 million is what they had to pay out in lawsuits against Dr. Adrian Battle. $6.5 million as everybody's property taxes went up. And by the way, don't forget that nobody was allowed to ask any questions. Remember her office? What was it about the office, Joan and Sam? She had like a golden toilet or something like that?
She needed a private pooper.
She needed a big fancy...
she already had one, and she had it renovated.
She had her office renovated.
Like $29,000. I don't know how much it was.
Yeah.
It was $165,000, and the toilet was like 20 of it, right? Something like that.
Oh, that toilet wasn't $20,000
or two. It was more expensive than it should have been.
Look up how expensive. Oh, are we going to do this? How expensive was Adrian Battle's toilet? Because here's the thing, and it was a legit conversation. Because again, one of the things that I've noticed is that they don't like to answer questions over there at the Metro School Board. They simply don't. They have seen some improvement in scores, but they're still lagging behind the rest of the state. Is Metro Nashville, but she had a whole new office renovated. If I remember right, there was new furniture in there as well. Did you find it, Sam?
No specific breakdown isolates the exact cost of just the toilet. I do recall in the article, though, it was something about needing to put high-flow pipes in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Change your diet.
Anyway, whatever. Moving right along. All I'm saying is that as the businesses and the people of Nashville are struggling, and things are already expensive, right? As the city of Nashville and the people that work and live in Nashville are struggling, they're paying millions of dollars in lawsuits and a public school system that still isn't great. And she also, Dr. Adrian Battle, had her office renovated, and the people are struggling.
I got to correct Joan that there wasn't a private bathroom before. There was a women's restroom located right outside her office, but this was the first en suite bathroom in the building.
That's right.
Yes, that's right. She had to share her potty with other people, and that just wasn't good enough.
How dare you? Adrian Battle. Guys, how dare you? This is Dr. Adrian Battle. She needs her own bathroom. She needs her privacy. And who are we to question her need for privacy at those critical moments in her day? Welcome on in. Speaker of the Tennessee House, Cameron Sexton. Mr. Speaker, always great to have you on. A lot going on. Let's just jump right into it. Earlier in the program, I was talking about the situation with Acme Feed N Seed and the owner, Tom Morales. And he's literally just asking for a meeting with Mayor Freddie O'Connell for help with his property tax situation, which I was talking about earlier. He has seen his property taxes skyrocket. For people that are just joining us, $500,000. And so the mayor was quoted as saying this, because I'm really offended by what the mayor had to say. The mayor saying this: "It's not up to me whether he keeps that business open," Mayor O'Connell said. The market evolves, new businesses start, even as beloved old businesses close. A lot of people have had some very strong reactions to what I would say is the mayor's incredibly heartless comment on what is going on with Acme Feed N Seed, one of the classic businesses in Nashville. What is your initial reaction to that, sir?
Yeah, the quote is I was shocked by it too, Dan, to be honest with you, and it's just a lack of empathy for what's happening to business owners downtown. I mean, a total lack. And look, I think what he said too, the owner of Acme, is the $500,000 increase is more than his rent and profit combined, if you want to think about that, and how much of an increase that was for 1 year. And, you know, I've met with downtown businesses numerous times over the last 12 months to talk about the issues they face, the big property tax hike that they had in Nashville, plus the evaluations on top of it, is driving a lot of them out of business. And what will happen is you'll go from a small business owner like Tom or others, and you're going to go to these hedge fund owning all the property downtown because they'll be the only ones that can afford it to buy it. And then you're going to lose your property owners, and that lessens downtown, lessens the experience on Broadway as we prepare to hopefully host a Super Bowl here in the next 5 to 6 years with the new stadium coming online. And so it's just a lack of empathy for the situation. We have some legislation that can fix that. Also something that may help them long term as well here in the very near future. Well,
and that was going to be my next question. The Tennessee State Legislature has a bill from Jason Zachary that would cap local property tax increases to 2% a year. That would be unless voters approve it through a referendum. Nashville, of course, again, saw those property values soar. So even if the rates stayed the same, effectively, that means that people saw it as an increase and certainly felt it as an increase here in the last couple of years. So what are the chances of that bill passing, capping local property tax increases to 2% a year, or I guess it's like in a 3-year period, if you haven't increased those taxes 2% every year, then they can increase to, I guess, 6% at the end of that third year. Talk about that.
Yeah, so it's you can increase your property taxes at a rate of 2% per year, or a cumulative of 6% in 1 year, just over a 3-year period, and so that will help hold line in. And what you have is, and I think I put this out on Twitter yesterday for anybody who wants to go and follow my page, is you don't want to give progressives an unlimited taxing authority, because then you become California, exactly what they're doing, and exactly what's happening in Nashville is they raise the property tax, 30-40% on top of an evaluation after that. And so we're going to pass, we hope. I think we have the votes this year. We tried a couple years ago to put a cap in place to protect not only business owner but residential owners, and force the government to control their growth and not do astronomical property tax increases, as we have on the ballot next year. Yes, on to ban a statewide property tax. We never want to have that. We haven't used it, but we don't want to ever have one either. And so there's a lot of things that we're putting in place. Also, I will say, Metro is wanting a TDZ. That whole area down there from the convention center to Lower Broad is a TDZ zone, which is the state gives them the ability to have it as a TDZ, and we give up revenue for them to go in and build an infrastructure and to protect businesses.
Well, sorry, Speaker, hold on. What is a TDZ zone?
It's a tourist district zone, development zone for tourists. And so the state allows extra revenue to flow locally to help infrastructure and expansion projects down there with law enforcement, public safety, the convention center, as a tourist zone. We have those all over the state. And so Metro is right now wanting to extend that TDZ as well as the business owners. And since we're giving up state revenue for that, they have to have our approval. And so I think what you'll see this year too is a lot of different things that we will put in place in TDZs in our state to protect businesses like those from bad evaluations, from disrupting the flow of traffic, what NDOT has been doing to businesses in downtown, and making sure that those zones are the pro-business zones that the state needs to survive and continue to move forward.
Do you think there is a bias, and I don't know, you may not have an opinion on this, if not, I'll move on, but do you think there's a bias against some of these older businesses like Acme Feed N Seed? They don't have a big marketing with a Kid Rock or a Blake Shelton, but they're just good local independent businesses, and it seems to me like they're being sort of discriminated against by the mayor.
Well, the mayor and some on city council as well as NDOT and others, and they see them as the cash cow to help them build infrastructure, but at the same time, they're not doing anything to try to help them stay in business. And when you look at Acme in general, I mean, what that individual did is went and saved a building from demolition, a historic building from demolition, restored it, brought it back, used it to feed people, to house people, to help people in natural disasters. And then all of a sudden to request a meeting, never get a meeting, then get the quote, get the tax increase, can't get any relief from it. It takes over a year and a half to 2 years to even get an appeal heard in Davidson County. It becomes a nightmare. And then the message that's being sent, unfortunately, from Metro is, why would someone want to go invest in downtown? And that's not what we need in Nashville. We want Tennesseans to invest in downtown. There's a lot of great owners downtown, a lot of great owners. And so, we're going to do what we need to do from the state to protect those businesses and to protect Tennesseans in general from these property taxes and woke policies.
Mr. Speaker, you had mentioned that move with a statewide property tax to not allow a statewide property tax. And that seems like an easy couple of passes through the state legislature to go to a referendum. Some people had criticized that as a solution looking for a problem that didn't really exist, particularly with our conservative state legislature. But, I had to remind folks, many years ago, as you probably remember, there was a Republican governor that tried to implement an income tax on the state. And so I would say that is justification for what you folks did there in the state legislature. Did you get any real pushback from that?
No, I mean, I think, of course, the other side of the aisle is going to push back on that. They never seen the tax they don't like, and they never want to do away with the tax. And so obviously there was pushback from them. But, from our standpoint it is a possibility because it's still on the books.
Yep.
And so if we put it in the state constitution and say that can never happen, then it will never happen. And to undo the state constitution is a lot harder than do a state law. We did the same thing with the income tax. We put it in the state constitution. Tennessee will never have a state income tax. Hopefully next year or in November of this year, Yes on 2 will pass, and there will be no statewide property tax either. So you're protected on both sides. It's a way to ensure that you're not going to be taxed in those endeavors.
All right, some rapid fire here. So somebody sent me a note the other day. I've got a lot of hate listeners, if you can imagine that, Mr. Speaker. So
I know I'm feeling.
Yeah, I know you do. Somebody sent me a note the other day about this bill to display the 10 Commandments in schools. He said that it would require the state schools to display the 10 Commandments in schools, but it actually doesn't. What it does, it just gives local school boards the permission. They allow it to do so. Talk about the bill regarding the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, Representative Hill had that bill on the House floor last week, and all it does is allow the local education associations to make that decision if they would want to put it in their schools or not. It doesn't force them, just gives them the capability of doing it if they so desire.
The train wreck that is NES does, of course, continue. In the state legislature, there has been talk of more oversight, maybe even a takeover. What is the latest on that aspect of the NES story?
Yeah, I've met with a couple of the NES board members. It seems like the chair of the NES board has changed her tune on the CEO potentially based on what I read, if you believe everything you read in the paper, which I don't. But anyway, we'll see what that looks like. Look, I think we've got 3 or 4 different caption bills out there to handle the directions we want to go. Obviously, expanding the board, having more representations from those in the outer lining areas, meaning in the other counties, they need to be on that board, up to the removal of the CEO, up to forcing them to sell off anything outside of their jurisdiction, meaning to the co-ops that the property they have outside of the Davidson County lines, because you're not supposed to go outside your geographical barrier. And so there's a lot of different avenues we can go. We can look at oversight by the Tennessee Public Utility Commission. Right now they only have TVA. who contracts that out. And what we've seen with the Memphis City Schools is when you contract out that authority, sometimes on the audits, you don't get the best results and they don't do the work diligently. And so we're looking at all avenues of what we need to do. It might not just be one thing, it might be multiple.
Congressman Andy Ogles has asked the state legislature for a full audit of NES. Can you do that, and will it happen? What are your thoughts?
We can talk to the comptroller's office about the full audit. Look, at the end of the day, my understanding is they have over $500 million in reserve that they could be using. They reduced the budget or didn't spend all the money on tree trimming, which caused a lot of issues in this ice storm. I think it's you can look at it. I think it's not like, I don't see it as a financial despair like what we've seen at TSU and then the Memphis schools. And Memphis schools make TSU look like a clean audit, to be honest with you, if you really want to know.
Yeah.
I don't think their audit at NES, I don't think there's been financial issues we can audit. I think it's a leadership issue and the lack of ability to understand what to do in crisis and what to do in day-to-day activities. It's a leadership issue, I believe, but we can ask the comptroller.
Finally, school voucher debate, of course, heating up again. You've got massive interest across the state, and a bill forwarded by the Democrats wanted more information on who was receiving the scholarships and whether those students went to public or private schools, amongst other things, incomes of those who received them as well. Are you getting a lot of pushback from folks on the left about the expansion of this program?
Well, they don't want the program, first of all. So anything they say they want transparency is kind of funny because they don't want it. Look, at the end of the day, what I will say is we'll have transparency, and we know the incomes. One of the limiting factors, and we're looking at legislation, I talked to the governor's office about this yesterday, is that if you can imagine, the Department of Education, we do not have the student data at the state level. So we don't know what the students' names are and what schools they're in. We don't know what their TCAP scores are. All that information is kept locally, and it's never moved back to the state level. And so we're looking at legislation this year to get that data back to the department so we can have the students' information so that we can understand, what school they're in. We can understand their TCAP scores, and we can have other information. And then we can provide total transparency for that student individually. And so we can talk about to the student level. Right now, the state can only talk to the school level and then the district level, which doesn't really help when you're trying to see if that individual child is doing better through school choice. And so that's one of the limiting factors. The other information we collect. And so we know that the income levels, we know that in the first 20,000 last year, 10,000 scholarships were below the income level, 10,000 were above. We do have that information. If the parents want to click, if they are currently in public school, then that's on there. It's up to their discretion if they want to click that box. It does give them preference in the pecking order for the scholarship. So if they are in public schools, it's important. And so we'll have transparency. But look, what I will say is it is now a bipartisan issue in the state of Tennessee as far as people who want school choice and have the opportunity. We've had a lot of issues with school boards. We have a lot of issues with administration. We should not limit someone's educational opportunities and success by their address, zip code, or income levels. And they should have an opportunity to find the right place that benefits them, that provides the best education for their child. And that's really what we're trying to do.
All right. Always great to have you on, sir. Speaker of the Tennessee House, Cameron Sexton. Did we miss anything? It feels like we got a lot in.
No, I think we got in. I'm drinking coffee, so I appreciate having coffee with you this morning.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll talk to you again soon.